But the main takeaway from this game, in my opinion, was that the Leafs look like they are having fun again. And one thing that was brought up at the start of the year when the Leafs were struggling was that maybe it's good that they're struggling. They haven't struggled to get to the playoffs for 9 straight years. And it's been a cakewalk and it's been boring because you know they're going to make the playoffs and you're just waiting for the first round to start because that's where their struggles have begun. But at the start of the year when they've been struggling, people have been saying, well, maybe it's good for them to find some character and to claw their way into a playoff spot. And watching that game, that is the first thing I thought of. Look at the character that was built through that Matthews goal, of him pushing through his struggles and igniting the crowd on that hat trick. Look at the goal from Troy Stecher, right? Like, this is what builds character within a team and builds that cohesiveness within a team, to where if you're battling to get in a playoff spot versus a team that's been sitting in a playoff spot since October, who's going to have that little bit of edge or that little bit more character within the team? It's going to be the team that clawed their way to get there. And the Leafs have always been the team that have just been sitting in the playoffs for 9 straight years, but also throughout the entire calendar year. So I think them finding that adversity, them fighting through it, that is what's different this year. And it's like, look at the crowd, right? I saw a tweet the other day, somebody saying, nobody cares how good the Leafs are. They just want to see a team that plays together and fights together and plays their hardest. And the crowd has been, I haven't seen Scotiabank Arena like it's been these last few games in so many years other than the playoffs. You haven't seen it in the regular season because it just hasn't mattered. But you look at a team that's fought through adversity, they've been fantastic. So, to see them fight through that, to see them push through adversity, it was said that maybe that's a good thing. And then it was like, well, it's not a good thing because they just keep losing. But they found it a little bit. They found it, and Scotiabank Arena has been buzzing. So that's been just amazing. And I think it builds character. And then the last thing that I would say is, if you look at the way that Berube's wanted them to play, he's definitely adjusted. Like, you look at, how many people were complaining about Berube's dump-in system. How many times have you noticed the Leafs dump the puck these last few games? I think it's changed dramatically. And I think it's Berube adjusting. You look at, the Pete DeBoer rumors that were shut down there. I think the Leafs are going to play into Craig Berube. The Mark Savard firing looks hilarious. I think the Leafs now have 4 power play goals in their last 4 games. It's been a huge, jolt to this team. But I think what you're seeing these last few games is what Craig Berube wants. He wants a team that's going to play together. And this is why you never brought back Mitch Marner this season. Whether you think it was the right move or not, it was to have all these guys be able to play cohesively together, whether it's Nick Waugh, Scott Lawton, Steven Lorentz, Joshua, Michelli, Nyes. All these guys are starting to find their roles, and you can't really do that with such a top-heavy roster and playing as a team, having 6 D-man all the way through, Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Troy Stecher as your third pair is fantastic. But I do think it's very interesting. You looked at the Leafs doubling down on Berube, and everyone was kind of like, well, why? And then as soon as that kind of came out that they were not going to fire Berube, you all of a sudden see adjustments. And it's something that I think they went over with Berube and saying, hey, if you're going to stay, we kind of have to change the way we're playing. And I think I noticed it a couple times where, usually it would just be a dump in and the Leafs defender kind of looks back and says, no, I'm going to give it back, right? It's always been interesting with me, the Berube thing, because so much has been talked about the playoffs. Well, the Leafs have the most success in the playoffs under Craig Berube, so why would you fire him? And then it's like, we want, a puck possession team. It's like, well, you had that with Sheldon Keefe, so what are you going to do, go back to a puck possession system? You'd just be doing circles. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I think if you can find the balance with Berube where you have the dump-in system, but you also don't abuse the crap out of it to where you're just giving the puck away all the time, then you actually have that nice balance to where maybe you see some more regular season success, and then you still have the Craig Berube factor where he was the best coach you had in the playoffs. You had the most success with him, so keeping him around would make sense. So I think finding that balance for Berube, it looks really good right now, and I think he's being heard by these guys. He's being heard. For a minute there, it looked like he lost them, right? But I think because he's adjusted, I think that's the main thing, is he's adjusted, and the guys are starting to notice some success if they listen to what Berube wants them to do, while also not being overkill in the way that he wants them to play with always dumping it in. So that's what I would say with Berube. We'll see how these next weeks go. They're 4-0-1 in their last 5. We'll see if that continues. But for right now, it looks like a completely different team, and I think it starts with Craig Berube's adjustments. I think it starts with Austin Matthews looking like Austin Matthews, and I think it ends with this team looking like a team that actually is having fun again.